Welcome to another episode of Discog Discourse. On this episode, we're going to be talking about Avenged Sevenfold.
Sometimes I don't know why we'd rather live than die. We look up towards the sky for answers to our life. We may get some solutions, but most just pass us by. Don't want your absolution, 'cause I can't make it right. I'll make a beast out of myself. Gets rid of all the pain I've been.
Now, if you've never heard this show before, this is a podcast where we pick a band, listen through all of their albums, and then come back to rank and review them. My name is Nathan, and with me I have my co-hosts Kyle and Jeff. Kyle, how are you doing tonight? It's been a while since we've done this. I feel like I'm a little out of practice.
Yeah, I've been practicing every night, so I'm not. But I'm pumped up, boys. I'm pumped up. Jeff, how are we doing down there in the Dirty H?
Oh, we're more ready than ever at the Dirty H. We've never been more ready before. I have an extra month of prep time behind me, so
Yeah.
hopefully it pays off. We'll see.
I've literally been listening to Avenged for 2 straight months. And I'm just now being like, I should probably listen to something else.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, Kyle, this was a super influential band for you and me in high school, if I recall correctly. Maybe even middle school.
Yeah, I do remember where I was when I heard Hail to the King. Hail to the King, sorry.
Yeah, this was a big band for us, for sure. And as such, I think we should honor the Avenged Sevenfold tradition and come up with stage names as they do. You know, this may surprise you, but M. Shadows is not his real name.
Sinister Gates.
Not his real name. You guys got any ideas for stage names?
Well, you already know I'm picking Jay Shadows.
Jay Shadows?
You can't beat the original.
If you
Really?
can't beat him, join him.
Dude, I
Yep.
thought you were like something like Juicy J. Juicy Jeffrey.
Juicy J. No, this
I
is
don't think
Avenged
that really- that
Sevenfold we're
no,
talking about.
I think that's the wrong tone. I don't think
Yeah.
that comes remotely close to what it needs to sound like.
Yeah, you're right. This is a lot of pressure.
I'm going to go with like Nathan Oblivion or something
that's a
like
good
that.
one.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So please refer to me by my stage name for the remainder of this episode. You can call me Nathan, Nathan Oblivion, Mr. Oblivion, whatever you'd like.
Yes, sir, Mr. Oblivion.
Thank you. Kyle, pressure's on you now.
Yeah, I was tooling around with Armageddon Kyle.
Ooh, no, dude, Kyle Armageddon, that's
Mhm.
perfect.
That's good.
Oh, see, I was just switching. Yeah, okay. All right, Kyle Armageddon.
The over-the-top ridiculous part has to be the second part, in my mind, for it to sound really good. Like M. Shadows, it's the second part that really sticks.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we go any further into this, I gotta plug the social media, as always. So if you want to join the discourse, you can follow us on Twitter at Discog_pod. Find us on TikTok at Discog Discourse, or you can find us on Instagram at Discog.Discourse. Also, if you would be so kind as to leave a 5-star review wherever you're listening, that would be super helpful because the algorithm eats that up. And then lastly, the last little bit of housekeeping we have to do is our shoutouts. So our last episode, we did The Devil Wears Prada, and we have a couple pretty good lists from that episode. So I'm going to kick it off with Alex at Owl Was Not Here, and his list reads The Act, Dead Throne, Color Decay, Z2, 818, the original Zombie EP, Transit Blues, Space EP, with Roots Above and Branches Below, Dear Love, and Plagues. Who wants to do it? Who wants to talk about this list?
I think Kyle should because he loves the act.
That's true.
Well,
He's a certified Act fanboy.
Compared to both of you guys, I am more one with the people when it comes to the act. But no, I don't love the act. I enjoyed it though. Yeah, solid list. I love Dead Throne at 2. I love Z2 at 4. Zombie EP is a little low, but Space EP is right where it needs to be in the bottom half of the discography.
Shut up. That's not even true.
And if you want to know what we're talking about, go ahead and listen to our last episode.
Great plug. Very natural.
Guys, this is my profession.
So this next one comes from Matt at MC Matt 8513. His list goes Color Decay, Plagues, Roots, Z2, The Act, Dead Throne, Zombie 1, Dear Love, Transit, 818, Space. And then he says, this is like a huge, rough draft.
Yeah, that's a pretty rough draft, in my opinion.
It is clearly a first draft. Because no one in their right mind is putting Space at the bottom.
Oh no.
Like, say what you will about that EP. I know y'all didn't like it. It is not the worst Prada project. There is simply no way that that's the case.
It's not, but it's close.
Yeah, pretty sure
It's
that was
close.
like bottom 3 for me, right?
Yeah.
Bottom 3 for me, bottom 2 for Jeff,
Guys,
bottom 2 for Jeff.
Yeah, it's close to the worst. It's not good.
it's simply not. But whatever. All right, this last one comes from Johannen Rosemeyer. I think. I'm sorry I butchered that. I know I did.
I like how you had a European twang
Yeah.
to the first the first name. Johannen.
Johannen. That's gonna get us canceled for sure. At Reliant Pilot, I can say that. He said, this was my first episode of this podcast, and I really enjoyed it. I will say they really missed it on the spoken word. As Kids is my favorite song, and The Act is my favorite record. The spoken word opinion makes me interested in Silent Planet episode, because I think it's all 10s. The last episode was the first episode he liked it. If he listens to this one, he's never going to listen again after what we just did to his name. So that is very unfortunate to lose a fan like that. But I think a Silent Planet episode would really surprise you, at least with my opinion on the way that they do spoken word.
I agree.
I'm a huge Silent Planet fan. And so that is our shoutouts. So there's no more housekeeping. And I think it's time to just dig into this. And so without further ado, Avenged Sevenfold's worst project, their most recent album, Life is But a Dream.
Pain, it found its way back in until we meet again into that good night. None too far as we chase through the stars beyond forever. I'll follow you.
I knew you were gonna do that, bro. I knew you were gonna do that. Oh no.
What's up, Jeff?
Yeah.
I'm not super surprised by this. I'm a little surprised, but I had a gut feeling that something like this was going to happen. So, Jeff, number
Well,
5.
I have it at 6. Nathan
Yeah.
has it at 9 for those listening.
Which is very interesting. So, Jeff, please, why is this so high?
Oh man, where do I begin with this? I didn't think we'd be talking about this early, but I'll get into it if I must.
I knew we would.
I kind of thought you'd come around to it, Nathan, but apparently not. So with the singles with this album, I didn't enjoy them at all at first. But there was an interview that M Shadows did where he said that you need to take the project in totality. You need to listen to the whole thing first before you can draw judgment about it. And I think that's very, very true with this project. I think on its own, listening to the singles, I wasn't impressed. But as a whole, I mean, this is good stuff. This is really progressive. It's really different. And I think the album really came together for me when you hit Cosmic to the end, because I think that the first couple of songs aren't great. They're not the best that the project has to offer, although I do like them. Like Nobody, for example, really grew on me as a song. But I think the album really comes into its own when you get into Cosmic, and then you start to get into those really, really interesting, progressive, unique songs that they bring to the table. Something that Avenged has never done before, like with God, with Cosmic, and then at the end with the instrumental closer, I think is really, really good. So what do I like about this album? I like that each song has its own flair, and each song sounds uniquely different in every single time. And I feel like I could listen to this album over and over and over and find new things to love about each and every song, especially with like, the electronic funk elements of like Ordinary or with Death at the end. You really get some unique stuff that I don't think M Shadows has really sung before, that Avenged Sevenfold has put out ever in their discography. And I think there's something to be said for that. Now, this is my hot take, and this is why I have the album so high. but I really did feel like the Avenged Sevenfold traditional sound was starting to get stale, especially with Hail to the King and the stage. I really think that the sound was starting to get a little old. And I think with this album, they come out swinging and they come out with something different and unique that sort of revitalized the Avenged Sevenfold sound to me. So, what do you guys think?
Nathan, you got it. I'll sandwich you.
Okay. Yeah, I'll start with what I like about this album. I think the best songs on here are the ones that don't sound like Avenged Sevenfold. So I kind of agree with you. I think the back half of this album is certainly better than the front half, but that's really not saying much in my opinion. I think Cosmic is kind of interesting, at least has some interesting ideas. The transitions into kind of the three distinct parts of that song can be a little jarring. Ordinary is just like this weird funk track that they put in the middle of the album. And I think it is easily the best song on here. I mean, it is one of the only tracks where it feels like everything actually kind of comes together to form something really cohesive. Like the production's a little thinner on this album, which is something that generally I don't love on it. And the auto tune is weird in this song. But the way all these pieces kind of fall into place on this track, it works. And they get into like these really weird progressions towards the end, and it sounds cool. I also think Death coming right after Ordinary is pretty good. Like I like that song too. I think it would have been better if they had just fully committed to the sparkly sound that that song has, and they didn't kind of have that part that comes in with the trumpets and guitars, because that again feels kind of jarring to me. You can tell from what I'm saying here that even these songs that I like on the album, I have gripes with. There's always something that doesn't quite sit right with me. I think it's pretty telling that my favorite tracks on an Avenged Sevenfold album are the ones that don't sound like Avenged Sevenfold, and I think that's generally probably not a very good thing. I can absolutely respect that a band of this size is doing something this weird, which is what they said they were doing. Like they were like, "Hey, we're taking a big swing here. This is going to be weird. A lot of people probably aren't going to like it. We're trying to make the weirdest album ever." But for me, it's a big swing, which is cool, but as a result, I think it's largely a big miss. And it's really interesting the way they kind of prefaced this album, doing interviews saying, "It's going to be weird. You're probably not going to like it. It's going to be weird. We were trying to do that on purpose." And I don't know. To me, that it almost sounds like they're trying to get a free pass for what they're doing here. It's like, guys, it's supposed to be weird. Like, if you don't like it, you probably just don't get it. And I think, I don't know, that seems kind of like a impenetrable shield that you can't really get past when you're critiquing this album. But I think that you can make music that is very weird and progressive and have it still sound really good. And a lot of my issues on this album are more so in the production and the songwriting itself. And I think, Jeff, a song that you mentioned is actually a perfect example. I think Nobody is just a mess of a song. And I thought it when I heard it as a single, and I thought it when I heard it in the album. It's like the vocals don't sound very good. And at first I was like, okay, does M Shadows sound bad? Or does the production just not do him any favors here? And then also the way the lead guitar is hard panned to the right in the chorus, and then they bring in these really flat sounding horns on the left, and it's just like none of this really fits together, and it just kind of makes this big mess. And then like the synth throughout it is unpleasant. The hi-hats that come in is unpleasant. They just
Yeah, but
cover the sound.
I think, as Jeff said, you have to listen to it a lot of the times and a lot of these moments in the context of the entire album. It comes together so much better than these individual singles,
True.
kind of like
I,
Jeff was saying.
I just don't think it does though. I don't think it ever comes together. Like I think every song kind of has problems on the scale of
But you
like
don't think
Nobody
that, you know, you
does.
could attribute that to the
Yeah.
style of the music that they're going to? Like, I know that you said that, you know, you can do something unique and have it sound good still. But don't you think, in the context of the entire album, it makes sense why these kind of interesting elements are being brought up?
Not really, because you can do all these interesting elements and still have it be produced well so that things are more balanced and create a more organic soundscape, as it were. Like, it just doesn't sound particularly good to me.
No, and that's fair. And I read online somewhere, someone said that Nobody sounds a lot better in person than it does on the album. And so I went and I listened to it live. I watched a video of it live, and it actually does sound a lot better in person. So I do think maybe you do have a point there that it really didn't come together on the album. But I do think as a song, it still works, at least a little bit. I do agree though with the hi hats. I really don't enjoy those that much.
Yeah, I think Nobody's a low point in the record for sure. I overall agree with Jeff more so in that it's about the whole context of the album. And it's also about what they're talking about, kind of what happens after death. When you start with Game Over, very sad material, where it ends with him killing himself. But you kind of go on this roller coaster of a record, and it's so chaotic because and there's so much unknown in every song. You don't know what's going to happen next. And I think that really fits in well with the theme of the album, the theme of what M Shadows is trying to go with, and the commentary of the state of society right now. And I don't necessarily agree with a lot of it. It is fascinating from a lyrical standpoint and from a songwriting standpoint. You're right. These songs are structured really weird, and it misses in Nobody. I think it misses in Beautiful Morning. I think it misses in Death. I know you guys talked about Death. I don't like Death. I didn't get the structure of the song. But at the end of the day, I don't think they care. I don't that's like Jeff was saying, that's what they're going for. And just
Yeah.
a side note, I love the outro where it's Sinister Gates composed a 6-minute classical piece by himself and played it. It's beautiful. I don't know what it means. I don't know what they're trying to tell us other than what a gorgeous piece from a
Yeah.
guy who we know as a classical guitarist.
Mhm.
I do like the outro. I've slammed instrumental outros before, but I found myself listening to it whenever I would finish up this album.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I think it is very pretty.
Yeah, it took him like 6, 7 months of just practicing every day to be able to record that. Like,
Dude, what a musician.
Yeah, he's so talented.
Classically trained in guitar.
The thing is, I still think these guys are very talented musicians. And like, I certainly don't think this is going to tarnish the legacy of this band or my opinion of them, even. It's just an album that in the end, I just do not gel with.
Yeah,
And that's fine. I seem to be in the minority on this one, both obviously in this discussion, but online, I've seen a lot of people saying that this album is really, really good, but I have just not clicked with it.
yeah, I mean, I still have it in the middle of my
Sure.
list. It took a while to really warm up to me, I think. And I do agree, like, I don't think We Love You is a very good song. I think that's the low point for me on the album. Um,
Yeah, I think that song's kind of a mess
yeah,
as
I'm
well.
not a huge fan.
I enjoyed that song. I enjoy that song.
It's just like the production choice at the beginning of that song. It sounds like M Shadows is going like when he's singing. It's just it
Yeah.
doesn't sound. It just sounds bad to me.
Yeah, I know it's a stylistic choice, like
Mhm.
with in the context of the lyrics, but yeah, I agree that that part is messy.
Yeah, but I mean that song. There is a part of that song I really like. That really fast thrash part that comes in. I couldn't tell. It's towards the beginning of the song.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're
Is
talking about.
so cool. Like what a great callback to their early sound.
Yep.
I also really like Mattel.
Yeah, that song's awesome.
I love the third chorus with the drum fill coming into that third chorus with M Shadows belting. I think that song is pretty freaking good.
There's some good moments in that song. I think the thing that really threw me off on that one was the synth that comes in kind of towards the
I
end.
see. I like it.
I like the synth.
I love that we're disagreeing so much and it's not even like 15 minutes into this episode.
Yeah.
Welcome back, boys.
I also really like the hip hop synth and the Pearl Jam guitar solo and Easier.
Yes,
I think
dude.
that song is
Yeah.
also really cool.
Agreed, man. I was gonna say that Easier is a great song.
I don't agree, but I'll let you have it.
Jeez.
Come on, man.
Well, hey, Nathan's not a Pearl Jam fan, so
Apparently
That's
not.
true. I've never been a Pearl Jam fan. And
Which is fair.
I'll wear that on my sleeve. One thing you cannot deny is it is an interesting album.
hey, amen.
I'll give it that. I'll give it that.
Where does this album cover art rank for you guys?
Similarly to where it ranked on my list.
Really? I have it near the top.
Yeah.
I love
Me
it.
too.
I love it. It's so interesting. It's not their classic, but it's probably number 4 for me.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Interesting.
I have it at number 3.
I have it above a couple albums that are very good albums, but we'll get there.
Above the stage.
Oh, yeah, that album cover is
Awful. So bad, dude. It's so bad. Oh, we're gonna write an album about the stars. All right, sorry.
The
I'm getting ahead of
Galaxy,
myself.
Neil deGrasse Tyson type beat.
Oh, dude.
Um,
Run that through my veins.
yeah, we'll get there. Oh, something we didn't mention up top. I've compiled some research together, and Avenged Sevenfold, they derive their name from the Bible, and as such, I thought it would be somewhat appropriate to take note of every time they reference the Bible or God.
Even though they are not a religious band.
Not a religious band in the slightest, but it is interesting how often they reference the Bible.
They're pretty well
And
versed.
Does this one
so,
have a lot? I feel like it does.
it's interesting. It's interesting. So this album has only 4 references to the Bible or God.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yes, and I can tell you exactly where they are and what they are. So in Beautiful Morning, he references walking on water. G, this may surprise you, the G in God, spells God, is written from God's perspective. And it's a very cynical and kind of nihilistic view of humanity.
Is that a biblical reference though, or is that just like there's a God who is laughing at us, but it's not the God of Israel?
So it's a reference to God, even though the, I guess, perspective of his character is not accurate. It is meant to be a portrayal of God, from my understanding of the song.
Cool.
And then, of course, God, which I already mentioned. So there's 4 references to the Bible, not even close to the most. So this will be interesting to keep an eye on. Do more references to the Bible make a better album?
We'll see.
We'll
We
see.
will.
Are we ready to move on to number 8?
We are.
Sure.
Guys, also, I am so sorry. I'm just noticing I did not know Black Rain EP existed and I did not listen to it.
That's
So
okay. We
I
won't talk about
genuinely
it.
apologize.
Dude, it's like 3 songs and like
It's 3
their
songs.
Call of
It was
Duty
hard to
songs.
rank. They're very good though.
They are.
I'll just throw this in right now. Not Ready to Die, top 10 song. It's not even a hard decision.
Whoa. Whoa.
Okay.
Whoa. Where did that come from? No, it's
We
not.
won't get into the discussion. That song is amazing.
It's good. Top 10 though?
It's
No.
incredible. Easily top 10. The way they incorporate the zombies theme into that song is awesome.
I agree. It's the best song on that EP.
Easily.
Yeah.
It's a 10 out of 10 song, in fact.
No, it's not. No, it is not.
Feel left out.
It's not a 10. Because,
I'm telling you right now, on your list, it's a 10.
oh, wait, Nathan. Not Ready to Die is the one with the deep screams, isn't it? That's that song. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, that song is really good. I have to admit, it is really, really
The
good.
main riff is like, na 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 na
Yeah.
na na
Oh,
na.
yeah.
That song's incredible.
Yeah, and it starts with an organ.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does. Yes, it does.
There we go.
Okay, wait. So actually, since we're not doing Black Rain, Life is But a Dream is going to move up to my number 8 since we're only doing 8 albums.
Oh,
Cool. Yeah, it'll be my number 5.
Everyone adjust your rankings.
Sorry.
appropriately. Okay. We're going to flip flop to the other side of their discography to talk about their debut album, Sounding the Seventh Trumpet.
There's no need to tell you what's in mind, but in the game of life I'm doing fine. No reason to tell you which way to be. The streets have opened my eyes to see. No reason to tell you what's in mind, but in the game of life I'm doing fine. No reason to tell you which way to be. The streets have opened my eyes to see.
Jeff with the hater energy.
hey, it's not a bad album. I just, I
Can I start?
Yeah,
Can I
yeah.
start?
Kyle, you
start?
can
Yeah, go ahead.
absolutely start.
All right. Nathan's got it at number 7. I've got it at number 7. Jeff has it at number 8. And I do want to just say I do love some songs on this record, but I specifically love the drums and knowing about Avenged Sevenfold and about their history with the Rev, their drummer, for those who don't know. When they were in high school, the Rev would not play with them because he was so good at drums and they were just not, their music was not up to par for him. And then he joins and steals the show on this record. Rarely does drums carry a record, and it does here. And this might be the best example of drums carrying a record, because you hear intricate jazz influences with heavy rock beats, and this guy carries it. It's amazing. I specifically love We Come Out at Night is a great song with some really, really interesting drums. Warmness on the Soul, where the Rev is playing both piano and drums. An Epic of Time Wasted, where the electric guitar is probably the most intricate that we've heard on this album. Super raw record. M Shadows sounds awful, in my opinion. Even his
Yep.
cleans. Even his cleans are annoying. And you know what the worst thing, guys, you know what the worst thing that they do in their first two records is they do this cleans dirty layer. They're not on the same pitch. They're singing different things. And M Shadows dirty vocals are not very good, and his clean vocals are so unpolished in these first two records, specifically this record, that when they do like the back and forth with them or when they layer them, it made me angry. It
Yeah.
made me want to jump out of
Yep.
the bus. I was so mad. That's my main gripe, and obviously it's unpolished. It's a debut in 2001 or whenever it was. But back to my original point, the drums carry this, and it's the reason why it's not last for me, is because the drum fills and the drum parts are so interesting, but I couldn't get past really any of the vocals, and the guitar is pretty boring. So that's my main takeaway from this record.
Yeah, I'll just add on. The reason why I have it so low is purely because of the production. Like you said, M Shadow singing, I can't stand. And I also can't stand screaming in Avenged Sevenfold albums. Might be a hot take, Kyle, you kind of mentioned it, but like, with these first two projects with the screaming, really takes away a lot of the enjoyment that I have from these songs just because I don't think it's very good. But, in the production just doesn't work for me. There are a couple of good songs on here, and I really, really wish they would like, I don't know, like remaster this album, remake it. I know it'd be impossible now, but I mean, there's some great ideas on here. Darkness Surrounding, The Art of Subconscious Illusion are two songs that I really, really enjoy, and Thick and Thin as well. But I just can't stand the vocals. The production just doesn't work for me, and they have like one too many like clean ballads on here for like a first album, and that also really, really takes away because M Shadows just doesn't sound good at all.
Yeah, I think y'all pretty much hit the nail on the head. I mean, this falls prey to a lot of the classic debut album issues. The instrumentation's kind of sloppy. The vocals are very rough. M Shadows sounds horrible on here. The production and songwriting are both kind of bland. I mean, the production is just not very good, and the songwriting's kind of, I mean, they're just not mature as songwriters yet. They're not there yet. That being said, there are some things that I really like on this album. There is a lot of classic punk rock influence on this record. You get the galloping drums, kind of the faster vocal delivery. And I think both of those influences are really cool to hear. And I think the best song on this album has a lot of that. I really like Streets, and I've liked that song for a long time. And it's just like a straight up punk rock song. And it's good. I think the faster vocal delivery in that song kind of masks how weak the vocals are. Like, he's not trying to hold any sustained notes or anything like that. And so I like that song. And really, I think this album kind of ends on a strong note with Forgotten Faces, Thick and Thin, and Streets. Like, those are probably my favorite tracks on here.
Not Shattered by Broken Dreams.
I actually do have that one listed. I just didn't say it. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't like it that much. So that
I do
I
like
was
it.
poking the bear.
I see. Well, actually, I do like that song. The drumming on here absolutely steals the show. It's crazy. Some of the drum fills on this record are unreal. And at first I was like, man, it kind of sounds like, for as impressive as some of this is, it sounds like it's off the beat a little bit. And it probably sounds like that because they didn't record this on a click, which is just incredible from a technical standpoint.
That is amazing.
And so, like, the drumming on this is unreal. If you are a drummer, you need to listen to this album because you will appreciate it more than we are giving it credit for right now. It is awesome.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I know I mentioned Warmness of Soul as a drummer song. I meant to say Lips of Deceit.
Yeah.
Excuse me, they're right next to each other. What do you guys think? I like Warmness of Soul though. I think it's a pretty solid slow song for the scene.
No.
I agree. And I think it's really bold of them to do a song with just piano and vocals when the vocals aren't really that strong.
Yeah, dude.
But the song itself is pretty good. The execution is not.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's a fair take. I really just can't listen to it all that much. I gave it a few spins, but that's about it. That's all I can do really. Vocals on here, I'm sorry, I just can't do it.
They
It
are
just
rough.
sounds like it's not like it's out of tune. Like it's not good.
Yeah, when he's belting "Nothing in this world can compare to you," it's so hard to listen to, bro.
The
Yeah.
screaming on here, I mean, none of the vocals sound good, but the screaming on here is really bad.
So
It is
bad,
bad.
bad, bad. And like I will say, going back to kind of music with that kind of harsh delivery, the screams and whatnot, going back and listening to that kind of music from this era, none of it's good. None of the screams sound particularly good to my ear.
There wasn't any real technique. They would literally just tear their vocal cords out.
Yeah.
And M Shadow said that he stopped screaming because he would like be spitting up blood after shows.
And that's probably why he doesn't have a good voice anymore.
Well, before Life Is But a Dream, the reason they took such a long hiatus is because he got an injury that almost ended his singing career.
I do remember that actually.
And I don't know what it was involved in. I'm sure it was just blowing it out for the stage tour. But still, it's like screaming with the wrong technique can ruin
It's
your
dangerous.
career if you are a vocalist. So
don't mess around with
I'm glad he stopped.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. And I'm sure what everyone's thinking is, Nathan, talk about religion more. And so I will. This album only has 2 references to the Bible.
Really?
Obviously the name
Wow.
and the song To End the Rapture. The rapture obviously being a biblical concept. That's it. That's all there is.
In an album called Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, they only reference it twice.
Well, let me tell you, I wish the 7th trumpet sounded while I was listening to this, because then I would not have had
Yeah.
to finish it.
It didn't sound.
But it did not. Yeah, that's it.
Or maybe this is the sound of the 7th trumpet.
Oh, this is what it would sound like.
Coming blasting overhead.
Oh my god.
Yeah, dude, we're just gonna hear M Shadows, and he's gonna be like, "I knew it."
That's
The
really
streets
good.
have opened my eyes to see. God comes down.
Oh yeah. So far, our album's at the bottom. Not that many references. Interesting.
Interesting.
Intriguing.
Well, hey, keep it moving, boys.
All right. In 6th place, we have 2016's The Stage. Boys, that is
Whoa.
tic-tac-toe in 6th place.
Wow.
All the way across
Wow.
The Stage. That's kind of hilarious considering how much we've disagreed so far.
That's awesome.
Hey, we're not so different after all, gentlemen. We're
so
not so
different.
different.
It's so good to be back. It is so good to be back.
I think we're finally finding ourselves again. You know, we had to warm up there for a
think so,
second, but
too.
now we're back. We made it.
That first review was our sounding the 7th trumpet.
Yeah,
Well, my bottom spot is still open, gentlemen.
it's scary.
Yeah, that's really concerning.
Has-
Especially since we're not doing Black Rain anymore. That is very concerning.
It better be my number 7, or we're gonna have some issues.
We might have to duke it out.
I can start with The Stage if you want me to.
The Stage is yours.
Oh yeah, I think that the opening track here is awesome. I think that the album starts out swinging, like a Mike Tyson punch, a right hook.
You know what? I agree.
Good.
But you're talking about the wrong Tyson. I want to know about that Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, we'll get to him. Don't worry. Give me a second. Yeah, I think this album comes out swinging. I think The Stage is a great song. I would argue it's top 10 for sure.
I disagree.
I don't know about that one.
Very hard to disagree.
You're gonna push back on me saying "Not Ready to Die" is a top 10 song, and then have the gall to say The Stage is.
Yeah, The Stage is a great song. I mean, it is better than anything off of Hail to the King, which I mean we'll get to.
Nothing on this album should even be near the top 10.
No,
I was
no.
about to say that.
This album
No.
couldn't scratch the top 10 with a 10-foot pole.
It's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
A 10-song poll.
Oh.
No, this
A
album is not
10-minute
that. I'm
song
sorry, guys.
poll.
I have to disagree with
Do a
you.
laugh track, Nathan.
Oh man.
Sorry. All right, Jeff.
All right,
I
Jeff,
interrupted you.
Sorry.
I think that this album, you know, it has some highs, but it also has some low lows. It has some low
Couldn't have said it better myself.
lows. Yeah, I mean, I think that from The Stage down to Gosh Darn are some pretty good songs. But after that, you really start to lose the plot, with me at least. Creating God, horrible song. Horrible. Terrible. Angels is horrible. And Simulation, I respect what they're trying to go for, but man, that song is a mess. It's a mess. It's just a mess.
Bro, the part in Simulation where he's like, nurse, patient
Yes.
666158 needs to be sedated. We need 500 cc. And then the nurse comes in and is like, oh, hello, dearie. I've been expecting you.
It's so bad.
Dude,
Bottom
God.
5 musical moment that I've ever heard in my life.
that is on par with "I'm pregnant." No.
It's so true.
Maybe the worst moment in this entire discography.
Well, but
Dude, you know M Shadows was like, "This is gonna be cool," naming it 666158.
6661 is
Horrible to listen to. And the thing is, that song has a like cool moments.
Yes.
Like the part where that song gets super fast and aggressive is awesome.
Mhm.
And then they go and just throw that all in the bin and light the bin on fire when that bridge comes
Yep.
in. It is. And like the guitar solo is so good. Everything. Oh my gosh. That song has awesome moments and it's so close to being really good. But then it is so far from being really good.
Yeah, there's some cool drum fills in that song too. And it just you can't have that song downloaded on your playlist and ever listen to it because of that moment.
Bro, that song comes on shuffle in the car and I'm like skipping as fast as I can.
Yeah.
And like my heart sinks for a second. I'm like, no,
I get
no.
embarrassed.
I can explain.
When I listen to it by myself, I'm like, this is embarrassing. I gotta get it together.
I guarantee if you looked at me as I was listening to this album, my face probably turned beet red when I heard that. And then I was like
Yeah.
looking around the room like I had just done something heinous.
Like it just got
I
found
don't know.
out.
I respect what they're trying to do though with the storytelling.
I don't.
And the sound effects.
Not with that one.
I don't hate what they were trying to do. I agree that part is hard to listen to. Quite cringe in my opinion. But I respect what they were trying to do. But so what do you guys think of Roman Sky and Fermi Paradox? I was gonna bring those two up next. I think those songs are pretty good.
I enjoy both of those songs.
Thank you.
I really enjoy both those songs.
The one note I wrote about Roman Sky is I sleep.
No,
dude, I don't think
no,
so.
it's good.
I disagree.
I not really feeling it.
I like it. I think it's beautiful. I've always thought that clean guitar part is really pretty.
Yeah.
And then Fermi Paradox is the best song on the album.
It's second best. But yeah, it's really good.
Oh, second best to what? The Stage?
Yes.
All right, pack your bags.
I don't think either of those are the best, but we'll get there in a second.
Wait, what do you think? What do you think? There's only
Wait,
one
wait,
song
hold on, let
left.
me guess. Paradigm, right?
That's my second favorite.
Oh, you think it's Exist?
I do like Paradigm. I think Paradigm's a pretty good song.
I think it's fine. It's
I,
good.
like it's nothing that I'm like Avenged Sevenfold is, at their peak performance right now. This is awesome, but I think it's got like good drumming. I like the chorus. It's a reasonable length for a song, and I think the solo in it's good.
Yeah.
Gosh darn, as it was referenced earlier, is actually my favorite song on here.
I like that
That
song
is
too.
the hardest I've laughed in this show.
That was really good. We got to find a way to keep it PG,
Yeah, there are kids listening. Come on.
There are young
Gosh
children
darn.
listening potentially.
Track 4.
Track 4, gosh darn. But like that sounds like.
Creating.
Are you gonna say creating gosh? Is that what you were about to say?
I think so.
Just keep going. Just keep going. We're not comedians.
No. Clearly, gosh darn actually sounds like an Avenged Sevenfold track to me, and I'm like, this is good. I love the way their drummer
hate
on this
that song.
album.
Wait, you do actually?
I don't like Gosh Darn. No.
That's crazy to me. Anyway, I like the way that their drummer rides the cymbals towards the end of that song. It's so satisfying. I think that's a very satisfying song.
Dude, the drummer on this record, not to spoil anything, but all I'm saying is I'm glad they went in a different direction
Dang. Savage.
because he is excellent on this record.
He has some great moments. Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are blast beats in Fermi Paradox.
Yeah.
And you know what? I didn't expect that at all. I will say the production does not do those blast beats any favors. Like those are the dinkiest blast beats I've ever heard in my life. They have no oomph to them.
But they're there, and you can't take that away from them.
They are there,
there.
and I cannot take that away from them. That is absolutely true.
Okay,
Are we gonna have to talk about Exist?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think we have to. It's entirely too long.
You won't find a bigger Exist hater than me. I'll say that much first. Okay, first off, the song is 16 minutes long. How can you have a song intro that's like 7.5 minutes long? Like, are you serious? And then the song ends with a 3-minute speech. Okay, so already you're down to like a 5-minute song, and I have to sit through both ends of it in order to actually listen to it. And then when you get to the song, it's not good. The song itself in the middle, sandwiched between those two terrible parts, it's just not good. It's not worth the wait. Like, there's nothing there.
The 4 minutes of meat is rotten.
Yeah,
That's facts. It's been sitting out in the driveway for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Dude, but yeah, I will say Neil deGrasse Tyson being on an Avenged Sevenfold record was not on my bingo card, so
No,
I do appreciate that little morsel.
I wish he was the nurse in Simulation.
All their speaking parts, like in
I love the idea of Neil deGrasse Tyson being like, "Oh, hello, dearie. I've been expecting you."
Yeah, dude, Neil deGrasse Tyson and A Little Piece of Heaven as the characters.
Oh my gosh.
I do.
Oh man, here's what they should have done with Exist. Well, the easiest thing to do would be just take it off the album. But if they wanted to salvage this, cut out the actual song, cut out the monologue,
Sure.
rework the first part into a song, and then you have an interesting Avenged Sevenfold track.
Yep, I agree.
Instead, the part that should have been a song is entirely instrumental with a couple solos you could take out, by the way. Don't slow it down and take out the monologue. Then you might have a decent song.
Yeah, then you'll have a 2.5-minute song.
In fact, no. You got to rework it. You got to retool it a little bit, tinker with it, and then you might have something. But instead, we get this long, drawn-out instrumental that's way too long, a very boring Avenged Sevenfold song, and then a real "We Live in a Society" monologue at the end.
Yep.
It is just a disaster. In fact,
Yeah.
I'm gonna change my rating of that song so it's even lower.
What was it?
It was a generous 4, and now it's a 3.
Mine's a 3.
I think that's a very good rating for that song.
I wonder if Neil deGrasse Tyson does this live with them.
He tours with them just to do this song,
He does like a 20-minute TED talk at the very end of each of their sets.
but it's their encore.
Oh my god.
Everyone's like, one more song, and Neil deGrasse Tyson walks out.
It's just a silhouette.
Yeah,
You see it rise up.
Neil deGrasse Tyson starts talking about solar flares in different galaxies.
Yeah, this album it's where they started going in kind of the more progressive direction, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, especially coming off of the album that was right before it, they were like, okay, well, that was more standard. Let's get a little more progressive and swing the pendulum in the opposite direction. And it's certainly not as progressive as Life Is But a Dream, but I think like the stage has so many different parts and it's just constantly evolving. And I do like that song. I don't think it's top 10, but it's good. For every song I like on here, there's probably 3 I don't. And so that's not a very good ratio. Kyle, Creating God is very bad. The vocal
horrible.
melodies
It's horrible.
just don't hit on that one. And then Sunny Disposition, it was probably the first time that I really heard a song, sat back, and then realized M. Shadow's vocals were probably on the decline. Just doesn't have the same power he once did. And that's probably, he didn't treat his vocal cords great throughout their entire discography. But yeah, that was the first time where I was like, this could be the beginning of the end. Yeah, I don't love this album. It's kind of clunky. It's not very good.
Same. I'm ready. I'm ready to probably get thrashed in the next couple picks.
Boy.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that. So this is where I was going to put Black Rain. But seeing as we are not talking about that, instead we'll have to settle for talking about 2013's Hail to the King.
For me, it's never too late. I am your pride, agent of wealth, bearer of needs. I am your wall, arming the strong, aiding the weak. I am your wrath, I am your guilt, I am your lust. I am your law, I am your scorn.
Yeah.
What's up, boys?
Yeah, that seems about
We're
right.
back.
That seems about right.
And we're back. We're back, everybody.
Nathan has it at 5. I have it at 8. Jeff has it at 7. May I reap the benefits of having it in last.
Sir, the benefits are yours.
Lovely. I enjoy the first two songs. I really enjoy Shepherd of Fire. I've always enjoyed that song, so I didn't know if it was nostalgia or not. And Hail to the King has the iconic guitar riff. Nothing else about that song is interesting, especially the chorus. Makes me want to bang my head against a wall.
Valid.
And then after that, there's not much on this album.
Yep.
The only song that even cracks a 7 out of 10 is Heretic for me. I really enjoy that chorus. It's just kind of an earworm. The verse is wholly uninteresting, but I do enjoy the pre-chorus and the chorus of that song. But aside from that, guys, the drums are the exact same on each song, and it's not like they're interesting same wise. It is kick, snare, hi-hat. That is it throughout every single song in this record. And Sinister Gates is kind of trying to carry, but they're also trying to break through into the mainstream quite obviously with their melodies and with how simple each song is. And it just makes me kind of sad listening to this after the momentum they had with the records before. And I know we can't, it's not quote unquote right to compare to what they've done before, but we've seen them change their sound. And this is just such a watered down version of who they are and who they were. This Means War is my least favorite song probably on the discography.
Whoa.
Crimson Day, one of my least favorite songs on the Discog. Planets, not a great song. I think the outro is pretty good. Acid Rain, when I say pretty good for the record. Man, I was so wholly, thoroughly uninterested by this album that it could land nowhere but last place, because at least sounding the Seventh Trumpet, they were doing interesting stuff pace-wise and riff-wise. Here, it doesn't feel interesting. It feels like generic biker rock. I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts.
May I?
Please go ahead.
This is clearly Avenged Sevenfold paying tribute to the bands that inspired them. I think even the name of the album kind of alludes to that.
Wait, explain.
Hail to the King, in my mind, it sounds like they are hailing the kings of metal that came before them, giving credit where it is due to the bands that, inspired them. And I mean, you can hear it on so many of these songs. Doing Time is a Guns N' Roses song. This Means War is basically the closest you can get to a Sad But True cover by Metallica, of course, without actually covering the song. And I don't necessarily think that works for the album's favor. I think by going back to this older style of metal, it sounds dated a lot of the time. Like, I think it is super toned down. It's not nearly as interesting as many of the albums that came before it. The riffs are a lot more standard. The drumming, very simple. I don't know if I agree with the idea that they're trying to break into the mainstream here, because by this point in their career, they were already probably one of the biggest modern metal bands. And so to me, this more sounds like, all right, we're playing arenas. Let's write some songs that are going to do really well in arenas.
AK, let's get lazy.
Yep.
I don't know if I think it's lazy. It's not my favorite style of Avenged Sevenfold, but I think there are quite a few good songs on here. Like you said, Shepherd of Fire is a great song. The chorus in that song is huge. And actually, the choruses in a lot of these songs are massive. And the thing that really bogs this album down is the verses are just so uninteresting. Like, This Means War, huge chorus. Requiem, huge chorus. Massive arena-ready choruses. But there is hardly anything else going on in this song. And I guess, it's not really that surprising that Avenged Sevenfold is writing good choruses. They've been doing that for a while at this point. And, you said after Shepherd of Fire, there's not a lot that you like. I think my favorite tracks on this album are actually kind of some of the deeper cuts. I really like Doing Time. I think it's kind of fun. It's got a lot of attitude. It's got some fun riffs. I really like Planets.
Oh no.
I like the horns in that song. I think it has a cool atmosphere, and the chorus sounds huge to me. That song just scratches the itch in my brain. And then I also really like Coming Home. And there's something about that song, and this may be because this album is somehow 10 years old, which is unbelievable to me. That song scratches a super nostalgic itch for me. And I cannot tell if it's that I liked that song 10 years ago, and haven't really listened to it that much, for the past 7 years maybe. And then going back to it, it's like, oh yeah, this is super satisfying. But like, it might also be the way that song is written, kind of going over the major events in his life in kind of this grand, over the top way. But the outro to that song, I love the kick pattern and the guitar solos kind of floating over the track. Like I like that song quite a bit. So I think there's more to chew on than you're giving it credit for, but I do absolutely see what you're saying in comparing it to a lot of their other work.
Yeah, I agree with both of you guys. For me, I'm going to lean more towards Kyle, obviously, but Nathan, you bring up some really good points. I just think that these songs are a little too repetitive. It felt like for me, and there's not a lot of great moments in each song. There wasn't anything that I could kind of hook onto and really remember the song for. Like, oh, this was the song that was this or this. The only thing that did that was the chorus, and then at that point, it felt like it was just a verse waiting for the chorus, and
Absolutely.
back to another verse to a chorus. And at that point, I'm bored. I'm bored. I'm getting bored. For me, the best song on the album, in my opinion, is Acid Rain. It's the closer. That song I have here is haunting yet beautiful. And I think that kind of explains why I like it. It's the tone of it. M Shadow sounds great in the singing on it. It's slower pace.
He sounds great throughout
He
this
does.
album.
And the production on this album, I have to admit, is good. It's really good. They did a great job on the production.
Oh, for sure.
But that song's just very theatric, very catchy. Used some strings and a great background riff. I don't know. I really, really like that song. So that's what I would put as the best song on the album for sure.
That song is up there, Jeff. I agree.
I have the most out of pocket comparison to that song, but we don't need to get into that right now.
Well, now you're tempting me into it. Now I want to know.
Yeah, I want to hear.
Okay. I don't know if this is because I was listening to this album on a flight and I was super sleep deprived, but I had somewhat of a sing through the Matrix moment when I was listening to that song. So stay with me here. As I was listening, I was like, you know what? This song kind of sounds like a more, I use the word boring, version of Hail to the King by The Gloom in the Corner. And I started connecting all the dots here. I felt like I had like the red string going across the board in my brain. I remember Mikey, the vocalist of The Gloom in the Corner, posting something on Twitter about how the song is just like Sinatra gone deathcore. And I think that Acid Rain is like Sinatra gone arena metal. And then I realized Hail to the King by The Gloom in the Corner is called Hail to the King. And so is it really a coincidence that a song called Hail to the King sounds like a song off of an album called Hail to the King? Possibly. But
I
Yeah.
hear it, Nathan.
Yeah,
like
you
now
hear
that
it?
I'm listening, I'm in the choruses in my brain. They do match up. They're very similar tempos. They're both belters. Oh, dude, you're blowing my mind.
one of them is just off the rails insane.
Yeah, I don't know if the comparison is one to one, but I definitely see where you're coming from, Nathan, for sure.
It is certainly not one to one, but it is very interesting. And also, chew on this a little bit and consider this as part of my insane conspiracy theory. An obliteration imminent off of that Gloom in the Corner album. He says, like a shepherd of fire, I calmed the sea of flames.
Oh, okay.
Shepherd of fire, interesting imagery. But Mikey has in fact confirmed on Twitter that is a reference to Shepherd of Fire. So they're clearly familiar with this album and like it enough to reference it. I think this is more than a coincidence.
Wow.
I mean, they did confirm it, so that's some good journalism right there.
Thank you. This is a very serious show. We give insights that no one else can come up with.
Well,
We're just doing our due diligence.
Nathan, on Twitter, you got to post that meme of Charlie from Always Sunny
Yeah.
with the red things, and then this whole
And
theory.
one end is like Hail to the King, Hail to the King.
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Yeah, and then just like explain this whole theory.
It's not
That'd
even
be
that
hilarious.
I'm just gonna at Mikey
Ye-
and be like, thoughts?
I was going to say they're active on Twitter with the Discog Pod.
Like my head exploded when that thought crossed my mind.
Wow.
And I thought
Nathan,
it was crazy.
please.
But then Kyle, you saying you hear it.
I hear it. Do you like turn on the lights in the plane and shake your wife awake and go,
You're-
"Eureka!"
I figured it out.
Yeah, and she's like, I wish that you wouldn't talk. as
She's like,
much."
I'm sleeping. Anyway, Jeff, you were talking about something before.
Yeah, I mean, I
interrupted.
just want to say, the references to like this arena metal, I think is right on the nose. I think that's exactly what it sounds like.
Mhm.
Obviously, I think they wanted to play it during like like the build up to the Super Bowl or something, where like they're showing the picture of the NFL players like at halftime, and this is playing or something. That's what it feels like to me, at least.
And to be fair, these songs would sound great in an arena. They succeeded in what they
Oh,
were trying
absolutely.
to do. I think these would sound awesome live.
Oh, 100%. And the production adds to that too that we were just talking about. It really does sound good. So if that's what they were going for, then they nailed it. But I think in terms compared to their other records, this really it falls flat. It's kind of boring. There's not a lot to really hold on to, take away from. Every time I listen to it, I just kind of forgot what I listened to. And Life is But a Dream, Nathan, to its credit, you have to admit, that's like a memorable album. Not to rehash old wounds, not to open up old scars there, but
Okay, but I think this is a pretty memorable album. I think a lot of the choruses on here are really good.
I don't
I don't
know.
know,
I
man.
don't know. But well, the choruses, sure, they'll get stuck in your head, but
The choruses are great on here, and I think there's a handful of songs that I really like on here.
Yeah, I mean, in Heretic when he goes rising masses marching to find heretic blood, dude, that got me pumped up. I was like, who are we getting, boys? Like, I'm in. I'm in.
You're gonna run out of the arena tunnel. Will that get you hyped up? Football players running
Yeah.
out?
Yeah. Hunting for heretic blood.
Every single one of these songs would be like the best walk-up song.
Yes, that exactly. I completely agree.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean, the "Hail to the King" riff is so memorable, dude. You just walk up with
It's good.
that.
Yeah.
Dude, it's literally like Thunderstruck by AC/DC.
Yes.
It's that iconic
Yeah.
to so many people where it's like you hear it and you
Yep.
know.
That's their most streamed song, I'm pretty sure.
No, it is by far.
I would be shocked if it wasn't.
Yeah. And even though that's not really my favorite song on this album, it's iconic.
I'm pretty sure it was in a Madden though.
Oh, was
really?
it?
That wouldn't surprise me. They love their video games.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure it was in a big game.
Wow.
And it's like, yeah, well, duh.
Separative Fires in Black Ops 2. It's
Come
the
on.
it plays during the opening cutscene to Origins, the zombies map.
Really? I
Yeah.
didn't know that. This was
Yeah.
also the album that jump started their video game, right?
It's a mobile app, right?
It was, yeah, it was.
Okay, so that's hardly a video game.
Well, it's a game, I guess. Phone game. It's a phone game.
I have no idea. I think so. I think that came out after this.
But when I learned that, I laughed so hard when I saw that was a thing.
Yeah, that's a bit. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Did
yeah.
Did y'all listen to the Diamonds in the Rough album that has a bunch of like unreleased singles or bonus tracks and whatnot?
I listened to a few songs off there, and I wasn't really impressed, to be honest.
Yeah,
I also did.
St. James, I think it's towards the end of Diamonds in the Rough, was on the deluxe version of this album. And I actually think that's like a really nice reflection on Jimmy the Rev's life. It's like a couple years removed after his passing, which we haven't touched on yet. So it's a couple years removed, and like it's a very almost positive reflection of how he lived his life. And it's really good. I think that's one of the better songs on Diamonds in the Rough. I think that's one of the better songs on this album. If you're considering the deluxe, like if you were to think about it like that, I think it's good. I think it's a good
I'll
song.
definitely check it out after this.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Also, I was wrong. Hail to the King is not in a Madden, but it is in a WWE game.
Oh,
Interesting.
And Shepherd of Fire is in a UFC game. So
I mean, these
kinda
these
sick.
songs were huge.
yeah.
And I mean, I think they deserve to be. They achieved what they were trying to do in making huge songs. Do
Yeah.
they sacrifice a little bit of their more interesting elements to get there? Yes. Is it a bad product? No.
Well, it depends on what you mean by bad. I think in terms of their other stuff, it's the worst that they've put out.
That's not what your list says.
Well, it's you know what I mean.
I actually don't.
I don't know what you mean. Could you explain?
Kyle, you say what I just said, and then I'll back you up. Okay, ready? Go ahead.
I think it's probably the worst thing that they've put out thus far.
Yeah, agreed.
Oh, interesting. That is what your list says, Kyle. That reflects what you've put down here in front of us.
That reflects what we've talked about for the last hour and a half.
No, but seriously though, like in comparison to their other projects, I don't think it's up to snuff.
No, it's definitely a step down.
Saying a bad Avenged Sevenfold album, I don't think says a whole lot, at least in my opinion. I think that all of their stuff is pretty good.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
not to hate on this album too much.
No. I think I've been defending this album. I think it's a good album, and I think it's absolutely worth listening to. If you are a fan of modern metal, if you like classic metal, you'll probably like this album because it has that very old school sound, which is part of why I think it sounds dated. But like, this is your dad's favorite Avenged Sevenfold album, and I would put money on that.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Shall we move on?
Let's move.
Move on to number 4.
Let's do it.
This is where it goes from these albums are pretty good to We're getting into elite metal territory right here.
We might have the same top 4, gentlemen.
I mean, we'll obviously have the same.
Well, we do.
No, like in the same place.
Well, we'll see.
Let's find
We'll
out.
see.
My number 4 Avenged Sevenfold album is their second full-length release, Waking the Fallen.
Raise your head and taste the courage. Fall from grace on holy night. I'm coming to kill you, won't leave until you died. Murder born of vengeance, I close my brother's eyes tonight.
Come on, boys.
Come on.
All of us at number 4.
Let's
Come on.
go.
We are back
Let's
in
go.
business.
We're not so different. They're trying to tell us we're different. We're not. We're not so
We're not.
different.
3 to go for the top 4 sweep.
Yeah. This album's awesome.
Yes, it
I
is.
agree with you, Nathan. This is an elite metal album.
Oh no, we've fallen off the Bible trend.
Oh, really? Why?
Like 3 albums.
So now the question is, do we catch up or do we cut it all out?
Let's just catch up.
Let's catch up. Okay. So what was the last one we talked about? The stage. So the stage has 7 references to the Bible or God. And you may be thinking, that seems a bit low, considering there is a gosh darn and a creating God. But
Yeah,
here's the thing about creating God. It's not talking about God. It's talking about AI, as much of this
It's
album
not
is.
talking about the God of Israel.
Oh.
No, sir. He's talking about the God of our modern times, AI. So that does not count. So the stage has 2 references, one to Jesus, one to the birth of sin. And he says snake rattle the mind, which is actually pretty clever, given the origin story there. There is an allusion to computers being as powerful as Jesus, as they were made to save us in creating God. So I counted that. Angels has 3 references to the Lord. And then Fermi Paradox, he talks about healing the blind. And that gives us a total of 7 references. So we are trending upward as we go upward. So that seems to be tracking. All right, and now as I frantically scroll back to where we were, Hail to the King has 2, count them, 2 references to the Bible and or God. One
Really?
in Shepherd of Fire, song about the devil, sympathy for the devil type beat. And then Hail to the King, he talks about death riding into town with armor, a reference to the 4 horsemen found in Revelation in the Bible. 2 references.
Nathan read his Bible cover to cover this morning to put this together. So
2 references. So that kind of ruins our theory that as these albums gets better, it's because they're more biblical.
No, it's because you misplaced "Hail to the King."
Oh,
Like
no,
that
you're
should- that-
right.
yeah.
You're right. It's my fault.
it is your fault.
It's your fault.
This is so dumb.
I like it though. This is
I
good.
do
This is
too.
good.
I do too.
Okay. That was super frantic. So someone talk about Waking the Fallen, please.
All right. Put me in, coach. As Jeff mentioned, this is entering elite metal category. I think actually Nathan mentioned it. And we know that based off of Unholy Confessions, you get thrown right in. Of course, Waking the Fallen is an intro interlude.
It's a pretty good one, though.
It is a pretty good one. I enjoy it.
I like it.
It's great. It's great.
It's very creepy.
Yeah, but it doesn't have a genre-defining riff. Not a band-defining, not an album-defining, a genre-defining riff in Unholy Confessions. Every single child, every single teenager that listened to this type of music has to be familiar with this riff because it started so much.
Yeah.
Sinister Gates started so much by cooking this bad boy up.
He was in the lab.
Dude, he was in the laboratory. And it doesn't, I mean, chapter 4 is arguably a better song than Unholy Confessions with the chorus and an equally as incredible riff, even though it wasn't as influential. I love Reminiscence. I enjoy Eternal Rest. I enjoy Second Heartbeat. I Won't See You Tonight Part 1 is good. I Won't See You Tonight Part 2, I don't really enjoy. Clairvoyant Disease, I enjoyed.
I'm sorry, what?
Clairvoyant Disease, the second to last track.
Do you know what that word is? Clairvoyant?
The second to last track. I like the vocal layering on the chorus. I don't know why, but I do enjoy it. And then I think the 8-minute closer and All Things End Well is good, but not my favorite closer, and certainly not my favorite on the record. I think my main gripe with this album and why it doesn't rank higher is because M Shadows is still doing the screams mixed with the cleans, and he does it on a much elevated scale in this record than he did with Sounding the Seventh Trumpet, to the point where in some songs it is almost unbearable. It is a tough listen and Desecrate Through Reverence. It is a tough listen in Radiant Eclipse. But, like, I mean, it is minimized by all the good that this album brings, especially instrumentally. I didn't even mention the drums. I'm going to let one of you boys talk so I don't ramble on longer, but I do quite enjoy this record.
I think this is definitely their most traditional metalcore album. And I agree, Kyle. I think the main problem with this album is that the screams just aren't good. And in a metalcore album, if you're going to be doing screams like that, well, I mean, they should be good. And I just don't think that this album has that. I don't think that he sounds very good in them, unfortunately. But I do agree that this album has some top tier songs. The first couple of songs are amazing. Unholy Confessions, Chapter 4, and Reminiscence are crazy good. And then I think that you kind of lose it a little bit. I don't really like Eternal Rest or Second Heartbeat that much. I think that those songs are just okay. Second Heartbeat has one too many woes for me. And I just think it kind of drags the song down a little bit. But then I disagree, Kyle. I think I Won't See You Tonight Part 2 and Part 1 are both really, really good. I think that the album finds itself again with those two songs and then kind of just levels out near the end. So I think, in terms of their discography, Avenged Sevenfold has albums, in my opinion at least, with no blemishes. They have a couple of albums that we'll talk about here that don't have a bad song, and this one just has a couple of weak ones that holds it down just a little bit. What do you think, Nathan?
You mentioned this sounds more traditional metalcore, but my friend, I would venture to say that that's because this album is traditional metalcore. This is the birth of traditional metalcore. Kyle alluded to it earlier, but like Unholy Confessions, every metalcore band has ripped off that riff at one point or another. It is beyond iconic at this point. That song is like the template for what metalcore would become and then improve upon and grow past. It is fantastic. And then following that up with Chapter 4, an even better song, is unbelievable. I love Chapter 4. The bells throughout that song are such a great touch. What a just inspired production choice. And then I agree, Reminiscence, super good. Lots of really cool riffs. And then out of nowhere, an acoustic guitar comes in, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that part.
I agree wholeheartedly with Kyle. Eternal Rest and Second Heartbeat is an incredible 1-2 punch. I mean, the guitar solo that kicks off Eternal Rest is nuts. Like, that song just kicks down the door, and then towards the end, you get the organ and the acoustic guitar together, and it is perfect. Second Heartbeat, I think it probably does have one too many choruses, but the chorus is so good that I don't even mind it, really. It's great. And they're finally starting to crack the code on, I say finally, this is their second album. They've cracked the code at this point on choruses and songwriting and melodies that work. And you see it even through some of their more aggressive songs on here. And then you get it at its peak in I Won't See You Tonight, Part 1. I think that song is amazing. And I think it's probably one of their best slower tracks. I love it's awesome, dude.
For sure.
I love the piano-driven moments. And the way the song climaxes is incredible. And that really feels like the debut of peak M Shadows vocally. Like, that's the first time that he sounds huge to me. And I think Part 2 is also extremely good. And it's funny how much those songs contrast each other. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this album has so many good songs.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say that they figured out choruses quite yet. There are obviously a couple catchy ones, but there are also a good amount of choruses that didn't necessarily catch me, but I stayed because of the structure of the song,
Sure.
because of the guitars and the drums.
I could see that. I'll give you that. They're not at a 100% hit rate right now. I guess I should say they're starting to crack that code, and we're starting to see some really good choruses.
Yep.
I do agree there are some misses though. Radiant Eclipse,
Miss.
don't need it. And I think the album kind of, I think Jeff said this, but it kind of fizzles out with the last two tracks.
I don't know. I enjoy Clairvoyant Disease.
I think they're just okay. I don't think there's anything great about them.
I also think they're just okay. I do kind of like the outro and All Things Will End. The way the track kind of slows down is very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a cool production choice, but it doesn't save the song.
No.
Yeah, I think that song is more of a mess than anything else. But it is a patented Avenged Sevenfold 8-minute song. I think that might be their first in their discography.
Isn't I Won't See You Tonight Part 1 super long?
Is it 8? Is it 8+ minutes?
It's got to be close. Like,
I think I Won't See You Tonight Part 1 is 9 minutes.
Oh,
it's long. It's long
Am
for
I wrong?
sure because it has that long instrumental break.
Yeah, I just looked at it.
you're right. It is 9 minutes.
It's a good song, and it's impressive that Avenged Sevenfold can write songs that long.
And still keep you engaged.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because they have those long songs that are bad, like Exist, where you're like, this is the length of an EP. When will this song end?
Yes.
That's what a bad, 10+, 8+ minute song looks like.
Yeah.
But they have an overabundance of 9, 10, 12-minute songs that feel like 3-minute songs.
Yep, I agree.
And I know that they even wrote I Won't See You Tonight as one huge song before splitting it up. And so that would have been like a 12-minute song.
Oh, at least.
But it would have been good.
At least.
It would have been a good
Yeah.
12
It would have been
song.
great.
Yeah.
Exist.
I think I do exist. I think I do like that they split it up just given how different they are.
Yeah.
But they're both very good.
I agree with that for sure.
Now let me propose this. Cut off the last two songs. Does this album move up in your rankings? If this album just ended with I Won't See You Tonight Part 1 and 2?
No, only because the powerhouse of 3 records that they have.
We are about to talk about the best trilogy of albums we've talked about on this show.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's just the thing with this album, like I said, is the screaming just needs to go. And they do get rid of it, which is great, but I think that's what holds this album down more than the individual songs themselves, if you know what I mean.
I think I don't mind the screaming on here for the most part, especially compared to every other album that had screaming around the time this came out. This is heads and shoulders above any other album that came out around this time.
That may be true, but I just feel like peak Avenged Sevenfold obviously is when they got rid of the screaming and they kind of figured out that new sound that they're going, that like hard rock-ish sound that they find in the next album and then forever after that.
Well, clearly I agree with you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I
I
mean, but
mean-
that's what I'm saying. Like,
How could I not?
When they basically created their own genre with the next 3 records,
right.
Yup.
or at least whatever genre they are,
They
you
perfected.
think of them first.
Yeah.
Similar to something like Swancore and Dance Gavin Dance.
I'm gonna have to censor that.
Yeah, but seriously, like
Yeah.
they essentially did create their own type of music, and it's so interesting because people can replicate Swancore. I've never heard a band replicate what these guys did from the years of 2005 to 2010.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people replicate this album.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
But the thing about that is it created its own genre or subgenre, I should say. Like that's the level of musicianship that we're talking about right here. It molded so much about what I love in heavier music. It's being formed right here on this album. If you want to hear the metalcore prototype, it's Waking the Fallen.
Well, and I think to have this album at number 4 just goes to show how strong their discography is.
Oh my gosh, yeah, 100%. Things are about to get crazy.
Oh, yeah.
dude, yeah. How do you sit down in the studio after this and be like, all right, now we're gonna start the greatest run of albums that the rock and roll scene has seen in quite some time?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, this is a very bold claim, and I'd have to actually look into whether or not the validity of this statement. Is there a better 3-album stretch in metal ever?
Architects gets close. We've discussed them.
I don't know that it is though, because I think this trilogy is way superior.
With how different this trilogy is and how much
Yeah.
more interesting it is. Yeah,
Well, they
I
said
do
we're going to
agree
change
with
up our sound completely, and actually, it's perfect.
Yeah.
3 different times.
Yeah, It's crazy. Metallica, obviously, you have like Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning. And I'm going to sound like an idiot, but I think it's the Black Album after that. That's an incredible trilogy of albums.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure like Iron Maiden or Black Sabbath has something, but I'm not as well versed.
We are just showing our age right now. Oh, yeah, I think Metallica had some pretty good albums. But the fact that these albums are even in the same conversation as
Yeah.
Metallica, like we're about to get into peak modern metal.
The geezers won't love that comment, Nathan. by
Geezer's
the
mad
way.
in the streets, but I do not care.
Yeah, dude, the geezers will be none too pleased.
I mean, Avenged Sevenfold I also saw was ranked like top 50 bands of all time, and I think they're like number 44.
Yeah.
According to who?
I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look. It was some website.
They were probably like the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Avenged Sevenfold, Dua Lipa.
Yeah, like Rolling Stone.
Yeah, who would do that?
Literally putting Doja Cat as like a top 50 hip hop album all time. Get out of here, son.
Get out of here with that.
Well, the point I'm trying to make though is that I mean, this is kind of universally recognized. I mean, what Avenged
Yeah,
Sevenfold
as
did
an
here.
incredible
Yeah,
run of albums.
absolutely.
But before we can talk about them, let's talk about the Bible.
Oh,
Talk about our sponsorships.
Yeah, this episode is brought to you by the Bible.
all right. I'm gonna guess 8. I'm guessing 8.
One lucky subscriber will receive a signed Bible.
Signed
Who's
by
it signed
who?
by?
Yeah.
Its author.
Oh,
It's author. A Bible signed by Nathan Overlord, or whatever I said my name was earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, Nathan Oblivion.
Nathan
that's what it
Oblivion,
was.
Kyle
That's it.
Armageddon.
Yeah, that would be heretical.
That would be heretic blood. So
Yeah.
Waking the Fallen has 4 references to the Bible. All of them are in chapter
Lame.
4.
Wait, really? There's 4 and 4?
Whoa.
Whoa.
You're having your sing through the Matrix moment.
Whoa.
Jeff, go get your girlfriend and
I
tell
gotta
her.
go wake her up. All right, I'll see you guys later.
So the song itself is a reference to Genesis 4, and it's about Cain and Abel. So that's one reference. When he's talking about his punishment that's too great to bear, the punishment of roaming the earth after murdering his brother. Far away from this land I must go, reference again to Cain's punishment. And then verse 4 is basically a direct rewording of Genesis 4:10. So 4 references in chapter 4 to chapter 4 in Waking the Fallen. Also,
Man.
in 4th place across the board. Interesting how that happens.
Oh,
We live in a simulation.
the holy number.
That's the stage type beat. All right. Are we ready to get into potentially one of the best trilogy of albums ever put to record?
Oh, for sure. But only if we have the same list.
Let's find out. My number 3 Avenged Sevenfold album, 2007's self-titled Avenged Sevenfold.
It goes on and on and on. I can keep you looking young and preserve forever with a fountain spray on your youth whenever. 'Cause I really always knew that my little crime would be cold. That's why I got a heater for your thighs. And I know it's not your time. But bye-bye. And a word to the wise when the fire dies. You think it's over, but it's just begun.
No way. No freaking way, boys.
Boys?
Yes.
Boys, are we
Oh
doing
my
it?
gosh.
Doing it?
Oh my goodness.
Are we
We've all
doing
got top 3, baby.
2 to go.
Jeff and I have identical lists, aside from Hail to the King and Sounding the Seven Trumpets. Nathan and I also have, dang, dude, we almost all have identical
Wow.
lists.
Yeah, this is crazy. Except my one difference is bigger than y'all's difference.
Very true. Very true.
Anyways, Kyle, I'm kind of surprised you put this at number 3. I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were.
Well,
gonna...
I know. Well, I texted you boys a while back that said the best 2 songs in the discography
Can I guess?
are not on the best album. Please guess.
Can I guess? Afterlife.
No, not Afterlife.
It's not
No,
Afterlife.
it's a little piece of heaven.
I
for
know,
sure.
dude.
I am shocked.
A
by
little,
that.
a little piece of heaven is number 1.
What?
Wait, hold on.
Whoa.
Wait, is it? Please tell me it's Unbound, because that's my 2.
Oh, it's not. It's not. It's Brompton Cocktail.
What?
I should have known that one. I am.
I love that song.
I'm shocked it's not Afterlife because you used to love that.
I know,
song.
dude. I might have listened to it to death, Nathan.
Oh.
If we did a full rerun on everything that's hit my brain, Afterlife is probably a top 50 thing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, dude.
In 7th grade, I tried to learn the solo. It didn't go well, but I tried to. It's still to this day, it's my favorite guitar solo of all time.
It's really good.
I love the chorus. I do love that song. It's a top 10 song. I think it's a top 5 song. It's unbelievable, but I do like Brompton Cocktail and A Little Piece of Heaven more.
Okay, we need to talk about A Little Piece of Heaven.
That
Do
song's
we?
insane.
Yes.
Top 20 song of all time for me.
Okay, we need to have a talk. We need to have a talk. A Little Piece of Heaven is one of the worst songs I've ever heard in my entire life from a lyrical perspective.
Disagree.
Why?
But my goodness, it is one of the most entertaining songs instrumentally.
I think lyrically and instrumentally.
The lyrics are so cringe.
It's telling a weird story.
It's so cringy.
I don't think they are.
Oh my gosh.
And we don't have to get into the nitty gritty, especially in the first pre-chorus.
We won't get into the nitty gritty. If we're saying things like gosh darn, we're not getting into the nitty gritty of this
Yeah,
song.
but like he kills this lady, she comes back, kills him, and then they like basically get married and then kill people. It's dumb, but like it's kind of on brand and it's a very entertaining song.
I liked the overall concept. Cool. But it's the execution of some of these lines. Because I really always knew that my little crime would be cold. That's why I got a heater for your thighs.
Yeah,
That is a
yeah.
tough
I
lyric,
never.
yes.
I
That
never
is a
got
tough
that one.
lyric. That's a tough lyric. It's delivered in a very catchy way. But that is a tough lyric.
Dude, but everybody's got to die sometime.
Oh,
Oh my
man.
gosh. And
With in the last chorus with the Rev doing the harmonies over it.
very good.
Oh.
Everything from a musical perspective, I am 110% on board with in this song. The lyrics are so hard for me to get past. And I love the Rev's voice on this track. When he comes in on the vocals, it's awesome. When he's doing like the must have stabbed him 50 freaking times, that line,
So good.
obviously censored for the sake of our program here, but that is amazing.
Yeah.
But then you also get moments, and I think it's right after the heater line when they bring it back later, and he says, "But bye bye,"
Yeah.
and I'm like,
But bye bye.
It's really hard to put "bye bye" in a song and make it sound good.
Oh, I don't know about
Yeah,
that.
make it be the best song in the discography. I don't know because they did it.
I don't know, man. The lyrics on, I mean, he's talking, and just some of the lines. Not to get too much into the nitty gritty, but the detail that they go into about sleeping,
got it.
sleeping with the.
I got it. I understand.
Not sure if I can get on board with that.
I'm not on board with it. It is a fictional story.
It is, it
where
is,
she
it is.
she does come back to the real world.
Yeah, but it's just so.
Yeah, it's like it is. But I mean, of the stories that we've heard, it's compelling. It is like you mentioned, unbelievably catchy. And like, yeah, I personally can get past it. That's why it's my favorite song.
I used to be able to. It is a great song outside of the lyrics. But here's what I really want to know. I need someone to show me the A Little Piece of Heaven to Ice Nine Kills pipeline because I know so many people have gone down that route. They heard A Little Piece of Heaven at one point in their life, and then years later they're like, well, this Ice Nine Kills band is pretty cool because A Little Piece of Heaven walked so Ice Nine Kills could sprint.
Yes.
You know, I mean, I didn't really make that connection until right now when you say it, but it is pretty true. There are a lot of similar elements there. For me, I get a lot more of like a My Chemical Romance type vibe from this song.
I could absolutely see that. Theatrical rock.
But the thing is, nothing like that had ever been done before. That is the most unique song in their discography and one of the most unique songs in the genre, which is and it's universally recognized as being so good with the theatrics and the storyline and the vocals and everything. That's why it's so astounding to me is that like, yeah, it sounds like this and that at certain points, but none of those bands have horns and laughing and screaming and orchestra in it. It's unlike anything I've ever heard, and I'm sure I ever will hear.
Oh, yeah.
I am so astounded by this song, if it's not obvious.
Kyle, what else do you love about this album?
Obviously, Brompton Cocktail, very emotional song. Interesting, like a little deeper than I initially thought, where this person is like, I have a right to die and I want to die.
Yeah.
And I want to go on my own way and on my terms. I think that, I don't know, that kind of hit me profoundly the last couple times I was listening to it. And I won't get into the details why on the show, but like just knowing people that have been in a similar situation that ended up passing, it's like, man, I bet M Shadows wrote this with somebody in mind, or the band wrote this with somebody in mind. And that really kind of hit hard for me. I love Afterlife, like you mentioned, Nathan. Definitely a top 50 song all time for me. And just, I probably listen to that song on a loop for 3 hours, for all I know. I love Scream.
Yup.
I think that one's very disturbing, but also very, very interesting. Almost Easy, classic song, classic for the genre, in a ton of video game. I'm pretty sure it was in a Guitar Hero.
That's actually how I first heard of Avenged Sevenfold. Was
Oh, really?
almost easy on the arcade Guitar Hero cabinet at a movie theater.
Wow.
I was scrolling through the songs. I was like, "What is this? This
Yeah.
bangs!" And
The
it's
place where germs were born.
no kidding, no kidding. And it's all been downhill from there.
But the thing that stands out to me is songs like Gunslinger and Dear God
Yeah.
with that kind of Western country theme. I've never gotten into country music. I've tried to. My friends have tried to get me into it. I've never fallen in love, but I do enjoy both those songs. And that brings us Critical Acclaim, my least favorite song on this record. The Rev steals the show with the chorus. The Rev crushes on this song. The M Shadows spoken word is pretty hard to listen to. Because this is when I realized M Shadows really wants to be a soldier.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
He said, "Put me on those front lines."
He really wants you to keep your mouth shut about an unethical war that's going on in the East.
Oh, you don't like this war? You must not like our troops. How's this?
My favorite here, yeah, someone else talking.
Hold up.
I'll swing back to this.
Is it the special salute?
Yeah, yes. Well, where I'm from, we have a special salute way of dealing with your kind or something. It's like,
Dealing with your kind. Whoa.
yeah, your kind is in being mad at the troops. Hold on, let me.
I don't know. I don't hate that. I don't hate the song. I don't hate the song.
I don't either. I actually quite like
yeah,
that song.
I don't know. This like I understand why it's kind of cringe and why we're making fun of it, but like it's not that bad.
I don't think it's the most cringe song on this album.
Oh, you think it's Dear God?
Oh,
Please tell me
lyrically.
you think it's Dear God.
No, we already talked about what I think the most cringe song on this album is lyrically.
Oh, lyrically. Oh,
We talked about it for
No, I
like
know,
10
okay,
minutes.
I misunderstood because Dear God to me is a total mess. I thought you were gonna bring that up.
Really?
I don't I just
I don't love it, but I do enjoy it. Like, I don't.
I just think it's out of place. I don't really know what it's. I wish it was just cut. I wish the album ended with A Little Piece of Heaven. Then this might be my number one.
I agree with that.
I absolutely agree. I don't think I would push it to my number one, but I do agree. It's so weird that they tried to sneak a full-on country song on this
I
album.
know it's so obvious you're trying to appeal to the mainstream. Like it's crazy.
And it feels almost unnecessary after a track like Gunslinger, which brings in those Western influences, but does it way better in a really compelling way.
It doesn't go over the top.
No, because they do a really great job of blending the elements from both genres in that song. And it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Afterlife, fantastic, classic. What can I say about that song that hasn't been said 1,000 times already? Same with Almost Easy, really. But like, Kyle, Scream is so good, and it does border on having some lyrics where I'm a little bit like, okay. But the riffs in that song are so cool. And like the way they do the bends in the pre-chorus where it almost sounds like the guitar is like revving up over and over again.
Yeah.
The groove in the chorus and the guitar solos, like everything about that song from a songwriting perspective, especially in terms of guitar, is so addicting.
Yeah, I like to think of Critical Acclaim. M Shadows thinks of himself as a troop, and Scream he thinks of himself as a werewolf. maybe in Gunslinger he thinks of himself as a cowboy.
Oh, this is M Shadow's cosplay album.
Yeah, dude.
He said, "Let me step into all these roles real quick."
Yeah, he's like Brompton Cocktail. I'm a dying man. I want to go my own way.
I've been shot on the front line, and I need to die.
He's a
Someone get me a lethal injection of morphine and other drugs.
Oh, hello, dearie. We've been expecting you.
Oh my, that's the Brompton cocktail right there. The nurse is gonna give him the Brompton cocktail.
Nurse.
Man.
Jeff, you mentioned Unbound the Wild Ride. That one does not rank towards the top for me, but you said you really enjoyed that one?
Oh man, I love that song so much. I think it's awesome.
100% agree.
I think it's insanely catchy. I think the kind of I don't know even know what you call them, like the piano licks throughout the song that are in the background just work so well. I love the lyrics. It's a very hopeful song, very optimistic. Talking about like never giving up. M Shadows, he's faced the hardest trials, but he's going to get back up again and keep going on this wild ride of life.
On
The
the front lines.
getting hit. That's what he's doing.
Dude, M Shadows and Matty Mullins might be boys.
Oh my
Dude.
gosh.
Their lives are the hardest
M
lives.
Shadows is like the right hand man to Matty Mullins once he takes over as president.
That's facts, dude.
It's
We're
over for
toast.
us.
Oh no, we're done for. I have no combat experience. Obviously, because I
Yeah.
do a podcast.
M Shadows does though.
Dude, M Shadows for sure has combat
100%.
experience.
Yeah, he's played Call of
Yeah.
Duty.
He's playing that VR stuff.
He was a character in Black Ops 4 for some reason.
He was. I agree. Unbound is amazing. I love the piano. And then the way the guitar mimics
Yes.
it in the chorus is awesome. It is so good. Then I also really love the bridge when like the choir comes in.
I was gonna bring that up. Yeah. Yep. It just all works. It all works.
And then it fades right into Brompton Cocktail. You have that like little heartbeat
Mhm.
sound, and then like they fade
Yep.
into each other. Like that 1-2 is such an interesting pair of songs because they're so different from each other. And they're like really unique Avenged Sevenfold songs, but they're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, those are great tracks. Those are probably my favorite on here. Scream, Unbound, and Brompton Cocktail are just elite Avenged Sevenfold songs.
And a
Yeah.
little piece of heaven.
Outside of the lyrics, I mean, even with the lyrics, I have that as an 8 out of 10. That just shows how good the instrumental is. I like that song. And I know it hasn't sounded like it, but I do really like that song, except for the lyrics. That's just why I'm one gripe.
That's fair enough.
Fair.
I mean, I still agree with Kyle. I think it's one of their best songs. It's so different. It's so different than anything they've ever done.
It is.
Anything you've ever heard.
What do you guys think of Lost?
I like Lost.
I don't like it.
Yeah, I think it's okay. I mean, we just haven't talked about it yet. I think it kind of happens.
It's the biggest miss on the record, in my opinion.
I don't think it's the biggest miss, but it's close.
Dear God exists.
Dude, Dear God is a solid like 6 out of 10. Lost is a 5 out of 10 in my mind.
It's not.
It has autotune in it. I mean, you got to give it that credit.
You know what? Geezers will hate this. I kind of like the auto-tune.
I do too. No, I'm not disparaging it. I like that part of it.
Yeah, I think it's a very unique element that they've thrown in, and it's honestly very bold for them to do because like Avenged Sevenfold, I'll say it, metal elitists love Avenged Sevenfold, like that's not real metal. The kind of guys that would say hip hop isn't real music because they don't use real instruments, they like Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah, dudes with lip piercings.
Oh my gosh,
They like Avenged.
they like Avenged Sevenfold, and they would hate this song because it has that autotune, and they're like, well, you're not hearing his pure vocals. Hello, every vocalist uses autotune to some degree. They're just using it as an effect here, and it's really cool.
Mhm. Agreed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're talking about Lost, right?
Yes, the one with autotune.
Yeah, I think it's pretty annoying, and I think there's also like I don't even like the galloping in the song.
I like it. Kyle, confirmed metal elitist.
Kyle
Well,
confirmed
listen,
lip piercing.
guys. If you are sorry, hey, if you are
Kyle confirmed doesn't like hip hop.
Whoa.
if you are squeezed between my two favorite songs on the discography, you're gonna have to do a little bit more than what Lost did. And when I finished Brompton Cocktail, I'm like, great, I got one more song until A Little Piece of Heaven, and it's Lost. I'm trying to be as objective as possible, but each time I listened to it, I was like, all right, let's get on with it.
That's fair.
It's good. It does get lost in the fold a little bit, but it's not
Oh.
a bad song by any means. Oh, very good. I didn't even do that on purpose.
You didn't even say pun intended.
It wasn't. Lost is a decent Avenged Sevenfold song. It's fine. I like it. It's fine.
Unremarkable.
Yeah, I think it and Dear God are the weakest.
Yeah, Dear God is a bit of a miss for me. Is this Avenged Sevenfold at their most acceptable or accessible prior to Hail to the King?
Yes. Yeah. Actually,
Probably.
yeah, that's true.
I think it has probably their most streamlined songs from a songwriting perspective. Some of their best choruses, they're just very good at that in general. And yet they still find ways to make them so interesting with different riffs and production choices. It is truly a classic and deserves to be one.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I want to know how many biblical references are in this album. That's what I want to know.
So, you might be pleased to know it's the most so far. 9 Afterlife has 2. Brompton Cocktail has 1 when in the bridge when they're talking about I believe that my sins will be forgiven. A Little Piece of Heaven has a couple references to God, as in create what God would never design. And then Dear God, I shouldn't even have to explain why, but it totals 9 references to the Bible and or God.
Wow.
So the trajectory is up and up, baby. Up and up.
Hey, and the album. The album.
Of course,
The
the
album
album
name.
title, Avenged Sevenfold.
Oof, let's go.
So
All right.
should we move on to number 2?
Yes, please.
Move it. And we might see.
Please tell me we're going hand in hand right here. My
What's your number 2?
number 2 Avenged Sevenfold album is 2010's Nightmare.
Reckless and unabated, they may take me but never take us all. Nothing shocks you like a ball at all. Leaving my fear on the danger line. Suffering a man should never know. Leaving my faith on the danger line.
Oh my God.
Yes, bro. Yes.
Let's
Yes.
go.
Wow.
Boys, this is the
Yeah.
objective ranking.
This is the. I mean, how we can't even do Man of the People for
No,
this
we
episode.
can't. This is amazing.
No. Well, we can.
This
Well,
is
Nathan's gonna get destroyed on Twitter. First off, we know that.
That's true because I don't like the album that everyone else did. Apparently,
Yeah, Nathan will get the stones thrown at him.
yeah, nice biblical reference. I'm shocked by this. With how good the 3 of these albums are, I'm shocked that we didn't go out of order at any point.
We're hand in hand.
This is not my nightmare. This is my dream. Life is but a dream.
Oof. Amen.
Amen.
Wow. All right.
I'll take it away for this one. To this album's credit, the best songs on this album are probably the best in their discography. But I think what puts this album in second for me is that as a complete album, it does dip down at a certain point for me.
Amen. I concur.
Oh, 100%. If by dip you mean near the end when it starts to get more into the slower ballads.
I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
then yeah, completely agree.
And that's not to say that those songs are even bad.
No, they're not.
Those songs are actually quite good.
Hmm.
But compared to the other album that is yet to be named, I mean, that album has no skips whatsoever.
Oh no. Yeah, I agree.
This one does have some that might be skippable. So Far Away,
Yeah.
good song, skippable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Victim,
Yeah.
No.
good song.
I have no. Victim's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Oh.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, it's a top 5
Bro,
song.
Victims 7 out of 10.
What?
Oh, I agree, Kyle.
What? No way.
I agree. 7 out of 10. But
Yeah.
it's like a good,
Solid.
good song, decent song. It's a little too long.
Very sweet song.
Very
Very
sweet.
song because obviously about the rev.
For those that don't know, which how could you not? If you're listening to this episode and you've made it this far, you probably like Avenged Sevenfold, so you probably know. He passed as they were wrapping up writing the songs for this album to the point where there are only 2 songs where they didn't go back and change lyrics.
He, as in the rev, who was the drummer.
Yes, thank you. That being said, Victim, it's just a little too long. I like a lot of the ideas. I like the female vocal they bring in. I think that's very cool. Adds a new flavor in, but it's just a little too long. Could have been shorter. Might have been an 8 out of 10 if it was shorter, which would have made the ranking a little bit harder.
Fair enough.
I
just
agree.
think it's so catchy. It is such an earworm to me, and it has such a great production throughout it.
That's fair.
It works. It just works.
I know people are about to be like, there's a pattern here. Nathan doesn't like the slow tracks. Fiction is beautiful.
It's beautiful and it's the most important song we've covered thus far. Like in the
Yes.
discography easily.
It's such a beautiful tribute. And the piano and the way they integrated like the Rev's vocal demos on this track to kind of include it and keep it as a lasting tribute to his life. I mean, it's beautiful and it is tragic. And it almost like stopped me in my tracks when I was listening to this album again. You need to pause and just take a minute after listening to it.
Hmm.
It's phenomenal.
For those of you who don't know, the Rev gave this song to M. Shadows 3 days before he passed away. And there's speculation on if he committed suicide or if it was accidental. I think it's up in the air, but I think the song kind of tells you that he knew at some point in the future this was going to happen,
Yeah.
and it was probably more near than
Oh,
further in the future.
absolutely.
At least from his perspective with this song, which is what makes it so beautiful, so haunting, and so important.
Originally, the song was called Death. Like
Yeah.
that was the name of it when he gave it over. They changed that for obvious reasons. But man, the fact that this album even got made and released and has a track that's this intense on it is incredible.
Leading on from that, that is one thing that to me at least, is kind of questionable about this album. Is that I feel like you have a lot of contrasting tones, especially like the first couple of tracks versus the last. I don't know, like Nightmare on the same album as Fiction. It just feels like so clashing in terms of like kind of tone and mood that they're trying to set.
The front half is certainly very different from the back half.
Right.
But I don't necessarily think that it clashes. To me, it almost feels like this album takes you on a journey. And, there's a starting point and, things feel a certain way. But then as you keep going, it's almost like this descent into the next area.
Yeah.
It just paints a completely different picture as the perspective that you're seeing changes. And by the end of this album, you're in a different spot than where you started.
That's good.
But it doesn't necessarily clash.
I like that perspective. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I think they do a good job of easing you into Fiction,
Mhm.
and then Fiction into Save Me, which is obviously some would call the pinnacle of the album. Victim, Tonight the World Dies, into Fiction. It is seemingly a cushion between God Hates Us and Natural Born Killer and
Yeah,
songs
right.
like that, and this extremely delicate, more personal of a song than I might ever hear.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And like I said, So Far Away was skippable, but there is something to be said when you sit down and actually listen to this album in its entirety. It's a journey. It really is. I wouldn't put So Far Away on my playlist and listen to it regularly, but when you sit down and just listen to this thing in its complete form, it is undeniable.
And it makes you come to terms, at least it made me come to terms better, not to get too personal, with death that's happened in my life, in my family, with So Far Away, with the How Do I Live Without the Ones I Love,
Yeah.
with Tonight the World Dies, with Victims. Like, you think about these people in the context of the song, and it's just a really interesting reconciliation between life and death.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Kyle, you mentioned Save Me as potentially the pinnacle of this album. Dare I say pinnacle of their discography?
I knew you were going to say that.
I think you wouldn't be too far off, Nathan, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. So good.
Yeah.
Easiest 10 out of 10 I've ever put down in my life.
Yep. That and Victim for me are the two on this album.
Unreal. I mean, the fact that Save Me is 10 minutes and
12, right?
maybe 11.
It's
Let's
longer.
meet in the middle and say 11. The fact that it's that interesting for that long is unbelievable, and it's just filled with the drumming in that song is amazing. The guitar riffs, the guitar solos, the vocals, like everything about that song comes together in such an incredible way. It's unreal. It is unreal. And like I almost even think it adds to the journey element of this album that song in and of itself feels like a very long journey, but one that is so satisfying to get to the end to have that on the end of another journey that's very satisfying. It's almost like an encore to the album.
I have never listened to a song that is that long, that feels that short. And that's when you know you've done it right.
Yep.
Is when you're not like, geez, 10 more minutes, 11 more minutes. It's their best long song, aside from A Little Piece of Heaven, in my opinion. But this song flies by. And Nathan, I think I do remember lying to you when we were in middle school, because I don't know why I told you this, because it was a bull-faced lie. But I was like, Save Me was actually longer, but they ran out of studio time. And you were like, oh, I'm going to look that up on YouTube. And I was like, crap, he's going to be on to me.
Well,
Because I don't know why I told you that, but
I think
did.
there is some truth to that. I think originally it was supposed to be like 15 minutes and then they cut it down.
Really?
Well, I did not have any knowledge of that when I was 14 and told you.
But I appreciate your
that
confession.
lie.
Confession live on.
I don't know if you remember that, but I do think about that
Kyle,
often when I listen to this song.
I have no memory of that at all.
Sweet. Cool. I'm off the hook, boys.
Yeah, you're off the hook, except for you just told me, and now I'll think about it every time I listen to it.
Kyle lied to me.
I think Save Me is a beautiful culmination to this album, for sure.
Yeah.
It really all comes together. And I think the tone that I was talking about, I think it kind of, if you even say there's a different tone, I know you guys would disagree, maybe a little bit, but I think they both come together and Save Me in the end, if that makes sense.
No, I agree. I think there is a different tone. I think that's part of the journey.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think that, that tone, the faster elements, the slower elements come together and Save Me at the end. Kind of a beautiful bow on top of the package.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
I,
That's a
I
really interesting
honestly
point.
did not entirely put that together, but that is so true. It's almost like that song is a condensed version of the album.
Exactly. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I'm learning so much tonight.
What do you guys think of Danger Line?
One of my favorite Avenged Sevenfold songs.
Whoa.
Oh, dude, that song is really
It's
good. Yeah.
so
I
good.
love
That
it.
song is
I
so good.
love it.
The guitar riff in the verse of that song is so infectious. And then you have like
Yeah.
the sweeps in the chorus.
Mhm.
I mean, everything about that song is so phenomenal. It's so catchy.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love Danger Line.
Yeah, dude, the beginning of this record, I think it's bookended by 2 10s. I think Nightmare is a 10.
I agree. I'm right there with you.
But I mean, dude, Nightmare, Welcome to the Family, Danger Line, Buried Alive, Natural Born Killer.
Yup.
That's a great stretch.
Listen, if City of Evil didn't have a stretch like that to begin either, this might be my number one.
Oh, for sure. I was close for me between these two albums.
Yeah.
It-
oh my gosh.
It was so
Look,
hard.
the difference between these albums is so minimal to me. Like, it
Yeah.
literally depends on the person that's asking. Like, Nathan, what's your favorite Avenged Sevenfold album? Well, if you're looking for the best complete album, probably City of Evil. But if you're looking for the best songs and the best journey, probably Nightmare. And then I'd say, really, you need to listen to both.
Really, you need to listen to the stage.
Exist.
You should also study the art of the stage because the album art is truly impeccable. It's about planets and stars.
Wait. Oh, so it's their
duh.
symbol, but like as a
Oh.
galaxy.
But it's the death bat.
Yeah.
But it's the universe.
Yeah, Neil deGrasse Tyson makes a cameo
Wow.
in there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
They're philosophers. All right.
the philosophers of our time, Avenged Sevenfold.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kyle, that stretch at the beginning, Nightmare, 10 out of 10. Welcome to the Family, 9 out of 10. Danger Line, 10 out of 10. It's like that stretch through Natural Born Killer are all so close to being 10s. It is just an unreal stretch.
I love Buried Alive.
Oh, it's so good. What a good ballad.
It's so nice. And the bridge with the guitars. This is now your life.
Oh
So
yeah.
good.
Am I listening to the song right now?
Kyle, is M Shadows with
Is
you?
there shadows in your room? No, but Jay Shadows is.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Jay Shadows.
Yeah, true. Kyle Oblivion is.
No, you're Kyle Armageddon.
Wait, you just stole my thing. Nathan
You're
Oblivion.
Kyle Armageddon.
Sorry.
Get it right, or we're gonna kick you out of the band. What do you think about Tonight the World Dies?
I
I
do
think it's
it.
pretty darn good.
Not my favorite on the record, but it's a very very solid song, very meaty.
I like it quite a bit. I think it's really cool, and it adds like another nice little flavor in there.
Yeah.
My opinion, it really exists because it adds an extra layer of padding between fiction and a song like God Hates Us.
Yeah.
Still a
That's
solid song.
fair. That song has a lot of emotional draw to it, and I think M Shadows does a really good job with that.
Do we want to talk about God Hates Us or just get into City of Evil?
I want to talk about the Bible references, so I guess we have to talk about God Hates Us
There
a
you
little
go.
bit.
Two birds with one stone.
All right, run the references.
Okay, so that song has 9 references to God. Say what you will about their depiction of God. They're obviously very angry about what has recently happened in their lives. Nightmare has 3 references to God and or the Bible. And then Dangerline has 1, giving us a grand total of 13 references to the Bible and or God on this album.
Cool.
That's a lot, but that's nothing compared to City of Evil.
Whoa.
My number 1 Avenged Sevenfold album, City of Evil.
Look at the world and see how the humans bleed. As I sit up here and wonder about how you sold your mind, body, and soul. Looking at the field so green, I know this ends succeed. I see you're living for tomorrow, but decisions you have made will leave you empty.
our number one
Hey,
Avenged Sevenfold album.
4, 3, 2, 1, all in a row right there.
That's insane.
I mean,
Incredible.
Jeff and I were hand in hand 1 through
Yeah,
6.
that's
Oh, that's really cool for you guys.
Yeah, City of Evil is great.
Yeah, who wants to rave about it?
I vote Jeff.
All right, great. I'll go ahead. This to me, I think Nathan, you mentioned this earlier. This album has no skips at all. I think the closest that you get to it is probably Strength of the World. But other than that, like I don't think any of these songs are at all weak in any way possible. I love the tone on this album. To me, it feels like they took a lot of the energy and the fast pacedness and all that stuff from the previous album, but just took away the screams, which is exactly what I want from an Avenged Sevenfold album. I want the energy, the craziness, the interesting riffs, the guitar solos, the crazy drumming, but just take out the screams. And I think that's what you're kind of left with this album, and that's why I have it above Nightmares, because the tone is just so much more energetic, fast paced, crazy. There's so many different elements happening all the time. I think specifically to the Wicked End, where it has like the strings and the trumpets and the choir just in the middle of it randomly, and it's like, what is happening?
Easily a top 10 song, maybe a top 5.
Not even a question. That cinematic break in the middle alone is so cool. But then you pair that with the way that they kind of carry on the cinematic elements throughout the rest of the song after that by keeping the choir in there, keeping the strings. Oh my gosh, it's so good. And that's not even mentioning like the riff at the beginning of that song and the energy that the first half of that song has is off the charts. Easy top 10 song.
And I think M Shadow's vocal performance in that song is unbelievable, but just in the whole record is the best I think that he sounds.
Yeah, he sounds great.
You know what you get here is that you get a good mix of like classic Avenged Sevenfold, like people consider their best. Like Seize the Day obviously is one that like people bring up a lot in terms of the best Avenged Sevenfold songs. I also think Backcountry is in there as well. I think that's one of their most streamed.
Of course.
Hold on.
Of course.
Who brings up Seize the Day as one of the best?
I see it all the time. I think it definitely has more mainstream appeal.
I do. I also see that a
I
lot.
see a lot of people bring it up.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I mean, I think you have.
Though I don't necessarily agree.
Yeah, it is my
Really?
lowest song on the record.
Okay,
Same.
that's interesting.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's the only 7 on here.
Even with the gang chanting and Strength of the World.
I like Strength of the World.
Yeah, I don't mind Strength of the World.
That surprises me,
Yeah,
Kyle, because
same.
you're very anti-chanting.
I know. Well, the ice in my veins is very goofy. When the gang chant "ice in my veins,"
Sure.
it's very
And
silly.
Strength of the
Almost-
World.
Yeah, almost too silly.
But, like,
but no, I enjoy
That
it.
song has a lot of really cool
Mhm.
guitar riffs and really cool moments that kind of, even if you, I mean, I don't mind gang chants, but if you don't like that, there's so much in it. I mean, it's 9 minutes. There's got to be something that picks it back up from that one little blip with the gang chant.
And that song starts like it sounds like a fantasy, like medieval sounding intro, doesn't it? Like, did you pick up on that? It
Yeah.
sounds like something you'd find on like a YouTube video for like medieval ambience or something, or like fantasy world music.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd go medieval. I think it sounds very Western.
Western? I didn't get Western.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think like fantasy, like Lord of the Rings kind of.
Interesting. I can see that now that you pointed out, but I definitely think it's more like Western saloon type beat.
Saloon.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to listen to it again. I
Like
definitely
the,
didn't get
like
that.
the gunslinger's just walking into the square and he's like, it's high noon. And then he shoots someone and then walks into the saloon and this is playing.
That's fair. I mean, the song definitely has like a Western feel to
Mhm.
it. I was talking more specifically
Yeah.
the very beginning, but no, you're definitely right.
I was also talking about the beginning. Regardless, it's a very interesting moment
Oh, yeah.
in the song. Whatever it sounds like, it's different, it's unique. And I think like the 3-song stretch from Sidewinder through Strength of the World has some of their most creative and unique songs in their discography. Because you get like Sidewinder, it has towards the end, it's like there's an Spanish acoustic guitar solo that closes out that song, and that's so
With
cool.
bongos.
With bongos, and it's awesome. And
It's amazing.
of course, the Wicked End we already talked about. You have the grand cinematic break in the middle, and then I put the Western opening, the Strength of the World. Like they're just bringing in all these different sounds and somehow putting this cohesive album together. It's awesome. That stretch is so remarkable.
It's remarkable, but like It's across the whole album
Oh,
because
yeah.
like the stretch from Beast and the Harlot to Trash and
Oh
Scattered
my gosh.
is arguably all tens.
Oh yeah, I agree with that 100%.
You can make a really compelling case for that. That might even be one of the best stretch of songs that we've ever talked about.
Oh yeah.
Dude, Backcountry. Like the fact that Backcountry and Beast and the Harlot were the first two singles for this
Man,
record. Could you imagine listening to those?
in the lab.
That is insane.
Like Beast in the Harlot, dude. That modulation at the end, that key change. Oh my gosh. It's so
Yeah.
good. It like takes an already great song and it's just like the cherry on top.
It's unbelievable. And the interesting thing about this whole album, and it differs from an album like Hail to the King, this album's gonna sound fresh for decades. And when I say fresh, I mean like its staying power is so significant
It's timeless.
because none of these songs are old. You can't listen to a song like Backcountry and be like, sounds like 2005.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't. That song could have come out in any point of time in history.
Mhm.
And you've been like, yeah, that rules.
Yeah.
Yep. I think part of that is because I've never heard another album that sounds anything like this.
No.
There is so much style on this album. Like it's so unique. Just the way that it sounds so stupid to say just the way that Sinister Gates was writing his riffs, but it's true. Like he has such a unique style on this album. Just the way he like almost slinks up and down the guitar with all these kind of slides and riffs. It's crazy. It's so cool and so unique. And I've never heard anything like it.
Right. And just how effortlessly the Rev puts in these drum fills and these drum parts that are unheard of with the amount of different influences that come into it. It's lovely. You can just never get enough of it.
It's beautiful and it's filled with energy and
Yeah.
life. And what do you guys think of Burn It Down?
Really strong song.
I know you guys said it was part of the stretch that you love, but for me that's like probably the best song on the album, in my opinion at least.
Really?
Oh, I love it.
It's so
I
good.
love it.
Like the pre-chorus is awesome. And then the guitar solo, don't even get me started. It's so good.
Yeah, I feel like it's just insanely underrated.
I think both Burn It Down and Blinded in Chains are underrated.
I agree.
Blinded in Chains, I mean, contender for my favorite song
Yeah.
I can see that.
in the discography. Like not even just on this album, but like the rhythm guitar in the verse is awesome.
Mhm.
And like it's just so progressive the way it keeps changing and they have all these complex parts and they're like it just flows. And like something that M Shadows does on this album that's so cool is he uses his vocals in so many different ways. And I think this song is like the peak example of that, where you've got the traditional singing, but you've also got like the really fast vocals. You've got just like the kind of drawn out sustained notes that he is using the full vocal range that he has in his arsenal on this album. And he's using his voice in such unique and interesting ways. He's using his voice as an instrument throughout this entire album, and it is awesome.
Yeah, dude, there's so many like long screams on here. Such interesting moments over these crazy guitar riffs. That's what I
Yep.
loved about Burn It Down when he's like, "Oh yeah," like that is such an awesome moment.
He was like, what?
He's like, "Oh yeah," he was like, "Oh yeah," like the Kool-Aid Man.
I will say, Seize the Day does have like the 3:30 mark where he does an oh yeah, and it sounds so funny, dude. He's like, so what if I don't forget you? Yeah.
Wait, yeah, I know that.
It sounds so funny. Every time I hear it, I'm like, that sounds like Carl Weezer from Jimmy Neutron. Like it's so freaking funny.
Carl Weezer.
But yeah, what do you guys think of the outro? The closing track?
I think it's great.
I like it. I don't know that it's the strongest song on this album, but
Top 10 song.
whoa.
You think it's a top 10 song? Oof.
Yeah.
Maybe on this album.
Yeah.
Best closer too.
Mm,
Best closing track in the Discog.
That's
No.
absolute comedy when Save Me
No,
exists.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually take that back.
Bro, how you
Take
gonna
that
say
back.
that when there's a song called Exist?
yeah. Oh, does MIA have Neil deGrasse Tyson on it?
I don't think
Didn't think
so.
so. Yeah. Hey, you know what? Scrub that from the record. Save Me is the best song, the best closer.
It is. Absolutely. It's a good song. It's not my favorite on here.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of hard when like a song like "The Wicked End" exists in
Dude.
the back half,
Yup.
where it's like dude, imagine if that were the closer.
Now we be talking.
A song,
Now we're
a song
cooking.
called "The Wicked End." Come
Oh,
on,
they missed the
son.
perfect opportunity. What fools they
Why
were.
didn't they ask us? Why didn't they consult
Hey,
us
Avenged
once again?
Sevenfold, why didn't you consult 5-year-old Nathan?
Yeah, 6-year-old Kyle would have been like, "All right, listen, gentlemen,
Yeah.
dude, it was released June 6, 2005. My birthday, June 4th.
Wow, happy
Wow.
birthday,
You do the
buddy.
math. You do the math."
Oh man.
Yeah.
So now we've really aged ourselves in this episode.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh no, now they're gonna know.
Speaking of things that never age, how many biblical references are on here?
This is a big one. There are 20 references
What?
to
Really?
the Bible or God on this album.
20? Wait, so it looks like "Hail to the King" is
20.
the only one that doesn't match your thing.
Isn't that crazy?
So that means that you
It's almost
misplaced
like
it.
there's a trend.
That means that my list
No.
is the real gauge.
No, we can count that as a statistical outlier.
Oh, you're a
Oh, I see how it
statistician.
is. Calculate the p-value and everything for that one, I see.
So to get to the nitty gritty of those references, Beast and the Harlot is basically a retelling of the fall of Babylon as described in Revelation, and there are all kinds of references in there. And the chorus is almost a direct rewording of Revelation 18, which is very interesting. I didn't know that. Blinded in chains, he says, "Thank the Lord." I count that. Trashed and scattered. In the second, I said my notes say the second chorus, but maybe that's verse. He says, "I'll cast the first stone," reference to the Gospel of John in chapter 8. The wicked end is basically reference to how the apocalypse is depicted in the Bible. You get references to the number of the beast, classic metal trope right there. Actually, kind of an interesting track. He also references the beginning of the Bible, saying, "Deep inside, you know, Adam was right." Actually, I believe the full quote is, "Dust the apple off, savor each bite, and deep inside, you know, Adam was right." And then finally,
Nice.
MIA, he references praying to God. So there are 20 references.
Wow.
Well, that was a very weird segment that we decided to include on our show. So that's it. We did it.
That does it, boys.
yeah,
That does
that
it.
was awesome.
Nathan, go ahead and run through the rankings.
Real quick, you know what's funny is the last episode I think we had the most disagreement we've ever had. And this episode might be the most we've ever agreed.
Yeah, this is actually insane how much we've agreed on a discography this strong. I expected there to be
Yeah.
a lot of disagreement.
I had a feeling that our top three would be the same.
Really?
Or no, not the exact same, but we would have the top three albums.
Oh, I think you
gosh,
have
well,
to.
Yeah.
Some
think you have to,
variation,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was surprised that Nathan, your number one wasn't Nightmare.
Same, yeah,
I love City of Evil. I've always been a City of Evil truther. Okay. The certified Avenged Sevenfold power rankings. In 8th place, I have Life is But a Dream. 7th place, I have Sounding the Seventh Trumpet. 6th place is The Stage. Coming in 5th, I have Hail to the King. 4th is Waking the Fallen. 3rd is Avenged Sevenfold. 2 is Nightmare. And number 1, my favorite Avenged Sevenfold album, is City of Evil. So that'll do it for this episode. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for sticking with us, and we'll see you on the next one.